Hey guys, what's up? Max here, and let's take a moment and talk about a little serious issue that's going on in Battlegrounds. And I think we're realizing that this is going across a lot of the game modes involved in Marvel Contest of Champions, but very noticeable now inside Battlegrounds. And what this is as you rank up or move your way up in the leaderboards in the victory track or in the gladiator circuit, you're faced with a couple of cheaters, people using mods, people using hacks, people just not really playing the game correctly. And what's the thinking behind this? Why are they doing this? And we've come up with a bunch of different reasons and why we think they're doing this, and ultimately don't really know why. Because it doesn't make sense for them to do the hacks, the bans, or I'm sorry, do the hacks because eventually, hopefully, we think that they're going to get banned. Well, I think that's where the concerning issue is. I think, unfortunately, there is not sometimes much that gets done to these accounts. And I think they're playing a risk 50-50. They go in and they're like, hey, there's a 50-50 chance that this account gets banned and I lose it for a week or so. And then I'll come back, grind out some rank rewards, grind out some resources, and I can kind of grow this account because it unfortunately it's like a bit of a double-edged sword here that the battlegrounds rewards are really good, and for them to use this hack or use this mod in this game mode, it really doesn't hurt them because this is not their primary account. This is just an account that they just opened a few weeks ago, months ago, they've had, and they're just like, let's just let it play. Okay, here's a situation that I want to present to you. I made it to the gladiator circuit last week's meta, so this new week is basically masochism with the regen, crazy regen, which is incredible. I think, yeah, first day yesterday was a live stream. Really didn't was trying to get to know the meta, was trying to get to figure out the champion, so I really can't say much about it at the moment. But as we were playing, we played people that are also in the same boat. They're trying to figure it out. Okay, that's fair. We're both in the same situation. Some people already figured it out ahead of time. I don't get to play until later in the evening, so there's been a good 10 hours that people have been able to play and figure out the meta, figure out, hey, how do I counter certain champions? Oh, I can parry, I can do this, I can bring these champions. It was funny to see me bring Spider-Ham into this meta. Worst. One of the worst champions you could bring in there. But here we found myself trying to play throughout the night just to have some fun. I won some, I lost some. It is what it is. But when you go in there and try to play a person that doesn't have an alliance, and then you play this account that you think you're like, wow, how you know they have a quicksilver. Is it because of the feature crystals? How long has this account been out? They already have some relics. It's moving on up. They have a few rank threes, 6 stars. You may consider this account as a legit account, right? But ultimately, let me see. They have a total of, it tells us 101 champions at the moment, and they managed to have a quicksilver. If you start seeing what they've done to play when I was playing against them, you take a look at an 11-second fight. And then the round two is what ultimately puts a cherry on top, a 10-second fight. That make basically almost 1 second, 2 seconds. I've seen worse screenshots out there of them, of people using mods and showcasing multiple modders out there, right? This was a biggest hit, one hit for 5 million, 5.4. Okay. And what ultimately happens is it creates a very distasteful feeling for the actual player, myself there talking about myself and everybody else that's playing the game mode correctly, that's kind of like invested in the way Kabam has created this game mode for us to like just compete, for us to learn and replay and replay and replay, because there is some RNG to this game. So this game and this game mode. So you create a deck, and then in the deck, you face another person, right? The other person, we don't know what their skill level is, what their deck looks like until we match. Once we match, then Kabam gives us a choice of picking up a couple of champions, and that is where the RNG lies. Well, are you going to make the right decision by picking up the first champion? Are you going to make the right decision by picking up the two other champions? What is the opponent picking? Okay. And then you have to kind of match accordingly. Once you match accordingly based on the champions he or she and you have picked, then it becomes the skill factor. Okay. Now, how can I counter these champions? Well, after going through that craziness of this game mode and fun, because I think as frustrating as a lot of people find it, and specifically this current masochism, I think a lot of people are just like, man, this is crazy. But a lot of it has to do with champions that you have in your deck, also champions that you're putting in your deck. So it has to do many factors, and then how you're playing this node. By the end of the week, it becomes a game mode that you're just like, okay, I got it. I got it. And guess what? It changes, which I think is cool because it doesn't keep you in the same game mode, repeating the same things over and over. I think that's a really big win on how it's constantly changing. Okay. And then we have an entire season behind it. All right. I'm not here to explain how this works, but what I'm here to say is, guys, so I don't know how we can get and rally behind and just somehow tell Kabam this is important to us. Like, do something, please, regarding the cheating. They've said it in the past. I'm not saying that they're not doing anything. I know they've said in the past they're looking into it. They're looking into it. Somehow, through the cracks, however many cracks this Battlegrounds or this game, Marvel Contest of Champions has, they're just slipping in. It just feels like there's so many of them, and it feels like there's less actual players, and it feels like there's so many modders, because not just me but across the board there's tons of other players that are just getting the same situation. They're frustrated, they're trying to learn the game mode, they're playing it fairly, frustrated, and then they meet somebody like this, and then it stops them from playing. You're just like, I'm done. They come back, they frustrate themselves, try to work their way up, and then here comes the ultimate cherry on top to just cut it off. You meet and go up against a modder. So if I know, if it hasn't met Kabam's ears how important this is, the cheating, the modding that's going on currently in Battlegrounds, because it is literally not just modding against Kabam now, it's modding, which at one point I think we didn't care. It was like, well, it doesn't affect me in one way or another, because if they mod and cheat and get their champions this way and get resources, I never have to care about them, right? But now it is, because it's getting in the way of you progressing, feeling better, feeling more accomplished, that you've gone and done something as a player, and it creates really a nasty feeling. Again, don't know who is modding out there, like actually live person, and I would like to talk to somebody, not to just like shame them, but more like to like figure out what is the modding community like. Is there a chat room of them all? I doubt it. Is there like a place where they just say, hey, this is what we're doing, we figured out the new mod, try this one? And what's the thinking behind it? Why basically, you know? And ultimately, when I was facing, just to give you a little insight, this person, Booth 5.0, I was facing them, and it felt like it wasn't a person in the back end. They waited, they let the system auto pick champions for them. So when I faced them, it felt like they were just like the clock was working its way all the way through. So it felt like they weren't really picking their champions. It was just letting the AI pick the champion. And of course, one hit, two hit KOs were happening. Okay. I don't know if they're actually there to control it, or if they're just letting kind of like somehow figure out a way of just auto playing. And that's the worst, because you just auto play, purchase an energy refill, let it autoplay, and then just move on. Just keep it going, and then purchase another one. And again, that is all done because of the resources. And I'm not asking for those resources to be to be taken down or like lessened, because that's the reason why the actual players are in there. I'm just asking that if they can do something to monitor this, if they can like if there's fights in the system that they can put a system in place. I don't know how difficult or how buggy or how um scary this might be, because there is actual players out there skilled enough that dealt lots of damage and can take down champions very quickly. Is it to be to like say, hey, we're gonna auto ban immediately as soon as we see somebody take down someone with at least like 10, 15 hits or 5 hits or 1 hit, especially 1 hit of a 5 million damage, like if there's a system that can check that off, again, being kind of cautious for the actual player that are skilled, where they get banned. This has happened in other game modes where there's been really skilled players. I'm sorry, in other games and game modes where there's been really skilled players that get banned automatically by the system that's put in place because they outskilled the actual, or they trigger the little red flags that the game has. But I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Again, it's not coming from frustration. It's not coming um, from a point where I'm like, pitchforks and let's go out and just make a statement. It's more coming from a concerned player for the future of this game mode. Again, knowing that modders and cheaters have been out for years, modding through different content, and modding through Eternity of Pain fights, modding through all this like special quest that Kabam has created for us to kind of go in there and do, modding through all these. Well, Kabam has kind of like gone in there and banned those accounts, but it's not a permanent ban. Unfortunately, it's like a weak ban, and we've seen those because we see other accounts out there. Like right now, just very quickly to end, sorry, this video, is we see accounts that have been banned in the past inside these leaderboards and have been still come back around. Like they've been caught with the hand in the cookie jar and were removed for a week, but here they are again. And now, do you trust that player? Do you trust that person to do the right thing and not cheat and not mod anymore? How do we know that they're not going to do it? How do we know they're not just going to trigger it on one fight and just be like, I'm just going to do it once. I probably won't get reported. Like, I think there is sometimes a tough decision to be made with these accounts. But sometimes we need a person to be, unfortunately, the one that's like, hey, look, this is what we did, this is what we're doing. And I know we've all asked for these accounts to be like published, and just again, it feels bad because like you're kind of shaming that player or that account, but made an example. What I'm saying is made an example, just hey, this is what we did, and that's not going to happen from my understanding. So here we are again, just asking Kabam, please. It is a little annoying, but please do something. Whatever you're doing, if you could expedite, focus more in the cheating, in the modding, tied around the competitive game modes, not just Battlegrounds, Alliance War, Alliance Quest, all these competitive game modes that you've created, that some players are playing it legitly and some are not. So that is all, guys. Leave your comments in the video, and of course subscribe if you have not hit the subscribe button, like the video. And now I have memberships, so become a member if you can support the channel. That'd be good. I'd be super thankful. But thanks again, guys. I'll see you guys on the next video or live stream. Take care. Peace.